video of me at the range, just popping off a few rounds for you guys. And if you noticed, the spent casings were ejecting from the 12 to 2 o'clock position, which the original M1 carbines did, the 30 cals. And you maybe also noticed that the rounds that were ejecting were banging up against my red dot sight that I had on there, so I've moved it up since then. So this is going to be a second part review. The first was an unboxing, and this will be a bit more of an in-depth review of the rifle. Since the unboxing, I've shot about 800 to 900 rounds through it. So let's go ahead and mention what Citadel states about the specs on this rifle. The barrel length is 18 inches. The overall is 35 inches. The weight comes in at 5.8 pounds, and it comes with two 10-round mags. Now, when I did the unboxing video, I did a trigger pull test at about, well, a little over 8 pounds. And since I put those rounds through it, 800, 900 rounds, it comes in at about a little over 7. Now, I don't have, you know, the world's most accurate gauge, but it's just to give you an idea that some things will loosen up. And I think it's good, you know, that it's at 7 pounds now, because the trigger did feel a little snappy at first, if you want to call it that. So let's talk about the price. Now, Turner's has the Woodstock, which you're looking at now, for $620, and they've got the synthetic at $520. Now, looking back at that, I probably should have gone with the synthetic. Not that there's anything wrong with the wood, but it's just, I could have done, you know, I could have paid for the sight and the extra mag that I picked up with that $100 and saved myself some money there in the process. I want to talk about the materials. So the butt stock on this, butt plate, I'm sorry, it's made of steel. The lever is a steel lever. It's more like a casting, like a pot metal. And the trigger is steel. The lever beside it, the safety lever, is hard plastic, as well as the trigger guard. The magwell is aluminum. The front and rear sights are aluminum. Plastic bayonet, which I don't have on the rifle, and we'll talk about that in a minute. That's a hard, same kind of hard plastic, and it comes with a wooden upper handguard that I've changed out for an aluminum scope mount, and I'll talk about that in a few as well. So I want to get into some of the issues I had with this rifle. The first problem that I had within the first 200 rounds, 220, was the rear sight. Now, what was happening is around 200 rounds, I noticed that my aim was off. And then I was using the front and rear sights. I didn't have that scope mount on there. It was all stock. So I noticed my aim was off, and it just kept getting worse and worse until the actual rear sight fell off. And taking a closer look at it, there's the fix. You can, you know, drill in a little notch on the resting plate, and if you adjust the windage to the right, I know the picture says the left, but it's the right, my mistake. You can see a little screw there, and if you just screw that onto the notch you put in on the resting plate, it should hold. Now, the reason I know this is because another owner of the same rifle had the same issue, so expect that to happen for sure. And that's the way he fixed it, so, you know, that's good. It's good that you can fix that. I never planned to use the rear sight, so I took it off. I removed the front sight as well for the bayonet lug. Speaking of which, that was my next issue. I have an aluminum mount on there, so what was happening was that the aluminum mount was banging up against the hard plastic bayonet lug that it came with, and eventually it broke in two. So I got rid of that. I removed the hard plastic bayonet lug, and I bought one from off of eBay, and it was a Type 1 steel band, and I put that on there. You know, it was about $20 to $26 now, keep in mind it was meant for a 30 cal, and what I have here is a 9mm. So I had to make a little bushing, or had a friend make one to adapt the 30 cal band to the 9mm, just to hold it in place better. If you don't, what happens is it just kind of the barrel wiggles in the band, and it defeats the purpose of it. So that was one issue. I want to talk about the mount now, the wooden mount. Someone said that they thought it looked dinged up. There's no dings on it. Didn't come with any dings. It actually feels really nice, very smooth. The grain on the wood is great. The only dings that are on that are from me installing that band in the front, kind of digging into the wood, but it doesn't really affect the performance of it. It serves its purpose mechanically. It's all fine. So that was another issue. Now, the next issue I had was with the trigger pin, which is located, well, if you take the whole setup out of that stock, I'm going to show you guys a video of what I'm finding wrong. Now, it wasn't, it never failed on me. The trigger worked fine. It was just one of those things that I noticed when I was cleaning the rifle that I thought maybe I should point out. So here's that video. Okay, so here's another issue I have. The pin right here, right where my thumb is at, looks to be the trigger pin. As you can see right now, it's in there nice and snug, you know, pretty even. On the other side, pretty even. What's happening is I'm going to go ahead and dry fire it. It's been safety checked, no rounds in it. You'll see that it moves. I'll do it about 5 times. Okay, so here goes. As you can see, the pin has fallen down in there, and when I took this rifle apart after the range, it caught my eye because it was down there even deeper. So luckily I didn't continue shooting and caught that. Here's the other side. As you can see, it's popped out now. Just should be an easy fix, but it's just another one of those things. You know, little issues here and there. So that was the video on the pin, the trigger pin. It never really popped out or nothing on me. I never had problems with the trigger at all. Excuse me, my throat's kind of sore. But it was another one of those things that I just wanted to point out. Yeah, I'm making a review on the rifle, and I'm going to tell you what's good and bad. But I also want to point out things like that might be, you know, an issue down the road. But as of like now, 900 rounds, it's fine, the trigger. So I want to talk about my next issue now. Let's talk about what I've changed, right? Really quick. I've changed out the mount. It came originally with a upper handguard, which was wooden, and I put a red dot on it, and I've changed out the band. But before I put any of that in, when I had that original stock wooden upper handguard, within the first 200 rounds, right about a little bit before when that rear sight kind of fell out, I had issues with feeding. It had failures to feed within the 250, I would say 4. And now, you know, after I've put in all these rounds and scope mount and all that, I'm having it, like, I would say six times out of 70 rounds it'll have failures to feed. So what I did was I mounted a GoPro camera on this, and I recorded at the range, and I want you guys to check it out. I caught a few of them on camera, some of them I didn't, some I caught on my other camera I had going. So go ahead and check that out. And there was something else. Oh right, the ammunitions that I've been using, I've only used 3 kinds. I've used American Eagle, Fiocchi, and Freedom munitions, and they're all 115 grain. Now, I don't know if I do go with a heavier load, maybe it won't have issues feeding, because I'm thinking, well, maybe it's the steel lever. Maybe it's kind of heavy. It's not cycling right. But anyways, I've used Freedom munitions more than anything, if it makes a difference. So here's a video with a GoPro and another camera on the failures to feed.
Doesn't lock back because what happens is the thumb. Right, yeah. So when I shoot that, I gotta purposely like put my thumb on the other side. Down the side I see. Alright. I'll let you up 5 and then you can put up to 8. Okay, 5. It's nice. It's very small. Super thin too. You can put a 7-round magazine with the slug at the bottom. You know what I mean? 7-round is makes more. Oh,
Alright, so let's talk about some of the aftermarket pieces you'll be putting in. Things like the scope mount, things like if you want to change out and put a different stock on it. First off, if you're looking to buy a aftermarket aluminum mount, you might be coming through some issues now. I know someone mentioned the Ultimac mount. I don't have one, I haven't tried it yet, but I think you might have the same problems that I did, because if it bolts on or clamps onto the barrel like mine did, you're gonna have issues because of the mount that you screw in on the underside of the barrel to hold it in place for with the mount. It's meant for, like I said, a 30 cal, so you have a diameter issue. What I did was I ended up putting in shims, and I ended up altering the length of that mount. Hopefully you guys can see that in the picture I'll be posting here. So you're gonna have to do some fit adjustments. It does work in the end though. A little, fit and finish on your behalf. Take some time out and make sure things fit right, and I think you'll have an okay build or setup. And at first my zero did move a couple times. I went back in, put in some more shims to give it a tighter fit. It hasn't moved since then, so I'm pretty happy with that. Now I kind of want to give this like a 1 to 10 rating on the rifle. I don't know, maybe this will help you guys decide if this is the rifle for you or not. So let's talk about shooting affordability. Now, obviously, it's not as cheap as a 22, but it's not as expensive as a 45 or a 40. So at 1 to 10, I gave it a 9. I gave it a 9 because it's not as cheap as a 22, but it's pretty damn cheap compared to everything else. The maintenance, cleaning, etc. Once you understand how to take the rifle apart, it's not too difficult, and for the most part, there really isn't much to clean. Just your basic, clean the bore, make sure all the residue's out. So let's move on. Fit and finish. I gave it a 6.5. There are a couple things that wiggle on it, like the handguard that comes with it. The upper wooden handguard wiggles. Even the mags wiggle. It doesn't fall out. It's not much of an issue to me, but just because of the simple fact that that trigger pin had me kind of worried, I want to give that a 7. It hasn't really failed on me yet, but it's kind of sketchy. Alright, next, the aftermarket interchangeability. I gave that a 7. You can't find anything specific for this yet. 9mm, stock, scope mounts, but you can modify the 30 cal stocks easily enough if you're mechanically inclined or you have a friend who is. So I gave that a 7. And let's talk about the function. For me, there was way too many failures to feed. If it had been like 1 out of 70 shots, then I would have given this an 8, but I gave it a 7. Right now, it's more like 6 out of 70 shots failure to feed for me on this rifle. It's just a little too much. Let's talk about the quality of the materials. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 6, and there's a lot of plastic on this, including the safety switch and. Safety switch, a plastic one. You think it'd be something a bit more serious, at least aluminum. I gave it a 6 because it's not fully plastic. At least they didn't use plastic where they actually used the aluminum. So that's good. The price tag, I mentioned that. I gave that a 6.5. I think it's a little too much for the time being. 620 to 520 to 620 is too much. You've got a wider range or variety options to choose from in this platform that are below that price. So the question is this a planker or is this home defense? Now, it has nothing to do with the 9mm caliber. It's proven as a good defensive round, especially with the right loads in there. To me, this is a plinker, and I knew it would be. I bought it knowing it would be a plinker. That's just how I'm going to use it. And the failures to feed for me really did it. I'd never use this as a home defense. I wouldn't trust my life to it. Okay, and I just remembered something. I want to talk about the stock versus the 9mm, the 30 cal stocks. If you're thinking about interchanging that too, well, if you look at the picture I'm about to put up, you see that 30 cal the stocks have a cavity in there, and your gas block isn't going to clear that cavity. Okay, it's not going to clear that cavity. Now, if you want to Dremel it out and customly just do it yourself, I'm pretty sure you could pull it off. I'm thinking about doing it, but you need to make room for that gas block, which isn't on any of the original 30 cals. Alright guys, so I think overall wait a bit. There's a better wait for the price to drop. Alright, you can buy the Ruger PC9 that comes in at $500. You can buy the Beretta CX4 Storm at $600, Taurus CT9 $600, Marlin Camp Carbine $640, and I've heard good things about each of those rifles. There's also a Taurus, I think it's a 995 TS, I believe, and that's actually pretty cheap. That's anywhere from, I think Gunbroker has it at $200 to $300. I think that would be a better investment. But if you're looking for that, you like the feel and the look of this rifle, which I do, check it out, man. I mean, it failed to feed, but I know somebody who's shot maybe about 200 rounds through it without any issues so far. Maybe I just picked up a bad one. Maybe you know, the weight of the front mount has something to do with it, but I doubt it now that I think of it, because I had that issue to begin with when I had the wooden handguard on it. So anyways guys, thanks for checking out my video. I hope this helps on your decision for the rifle. Thanks.